Ooh. I'm gonna let you guys come into the room. The live is gonna start in a couple minutes. I always log on early. Just waiting for Lorena, and then we're gonna talk about her film starring George Lopez and many others. Gonna let her tell you most about it, and it has a great message that I think that we're all gonna really like and need to hear. So it's gonna be good. As soon as she comes on, I'll grab her, and we'll go from there. Oh, she's here. All right, so give me 1 second. I'm gonna grab her, and okay, she sent a request. So let me grab her. Give me 1 second.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, good. How are you, Data?
Not too bad, thank you.
Good, good.
So, thank you for reaching out to me. I loved that when you sent me and when I watched it, it was just such a great message. So, thank you. I was very, very happy and honored that you reached out to me to talk about your short. It's a short film, or is it a full film?
A short film.
That's what I figured.
Mm-hmm.
Having like a brain thing. Like, it's a short film. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. Yeah. So, well, what we're going to do is, why don't we just start with you telling me a little about, like, your work and what you do, and then let's, like, delve into the film and why you did it, how you chose, who you wanted to, like, did you have a certain vision? Did you see certain people in it? Did people, like, how did everything work and all that stuff, good stuff?
Sure. Cool. So I guess I'll start off saying that I was born and raised in New York, so from Queens originally. So yeah, I just loved yeah, so I just loved films and wanted to be a director since I was really young. So just made my way to LA and then made a few short films here and there. And when I wanted to, so I came out in my like 20s, like mid 20s. So I had yet to make something that tapped into like my identity or anything else related. So project, I really wanted to tap into that. I felt like I had a story that I wanted to tell. So I wrote this kind of as a to vicariously live through this character. I remember my prom and how like horrible like that was to like get all or just kind of put like this facade and be all dolled up and dressed up and all of that. So I wanted to just, I guess, live through this character. And if I could go back and had the courage in high school to really know who I was and just accept myself, and through that just have like a support system that I can like finally, come out and really just live freely. So I wanted to write this story, and these characters came along, and yeah, I just wanted to really kind of give our community that little like John Hughes little queer, prom story, coming of age story.
That's great. I love that, and it's a great background story too. Now, as far as the film itself, tell us, like, the name, like, as far as everybody that's in it. I know obviously George Lopez is in it, and then some other, a bunch of other people. Did you ask these people? Was there, what was the process of how everything came about, and did you raise your own money? Did you, like, because I know a lot of people that are interested in doing that probably would also be interested in, like, because I like to write and I do my own things, and I know, like what you said, like, I like to do things from a very personal perspective. Even when I do my work here, I come from a very personal perspective. I'm very open and honest about who I am, my background, and all that stuff. And I think when we pull from personal experience, like you said you did, it makes even like better film. It makes for like just an amazing story, because there's a lot of heart in it. There's a lot of personal raw emotion in it. So, and also, I mean, I'm sure people want to know where they can see it, that, they could watch a preview, and all that stuff. So, like, what was the whole process of, like, the actors getting them and, money and, like the whole process of you getting the film actually out there?
Yeah, so a quick story about like the title. So the title, I just, I really wanted something that, it was at last for this, teenage girl to accept herself, and I'll keep the surprises for the film, but it just seemed like that one, those two words really would be like the just like her journey. I just wanted to, like, two words or a word to encapsulate her journey, and that was it. So, and then we have like the song as well as in the film, so that was kind of like a play on words too for the title.
Right.
And for the cast, so the way that I normally write, it helps when I have like someone in mind, an actor in mind for these characters. I feel like it helps me write better, like in their true tone and just mannerisms and just all of that. So I knew that I wanted Zach to play. So our main character, Lauren, her best friend has Down syndrome, and he is like that reinforcement for her, and he's like this, he plays such a pivotal role for our hero to finally just muster up the courage. So I knew that I wanted someone with a disability, and I had previously worked with actors with Down syndrome and other disabilities, and it's such a rewarding experience, honestly. And it's, I'm all about giving voices to the voiceless, and there's so many actors out there who are just not given the chance,
Yeah.
And they're super talented actors and are very just passionate, as Zach is. So I had reached out to Zach and sent him the script, and he loved it, and he had just finished doing kind of like the whole like festival run and like promoting Peanut Butter Falcon, and he wanted.
I thought he looked, when you first, I thought he looked so familiar because that movie was amazing, and I just couldn't put my finger on it at first.
So he wanted this to kind of be like the follow up to that, and I was just so happy to have that actor who I envisioned. And then so the mom is played by Marlene Forte. She had been in my previous short film. She's been in lots of TV shows, Walking Dead, Room 104, Knives Out, the film that came out last year. So she's such a actor and a good friend of mine, and once I was writing, I knew I had a mom role for her, and we've made this pact to work together forever. So it was great to have someone who I already had like a shorthand with, and especially working with all new actors, it was nice to have someone who I had worked with before. And for the father role, this role is like super crucial in the film, and I like thought who can possibly like play this role, and then I was like, just for like, why not George Lopez, right? And then you just kind of put that out in the universe and hope for the best. And luckily, I just had this conversation with him, and I was like, this role, it's for you, like this father, I need someone who can kind of pull at our heartstrings. And it was a different role for him. Everyone's kind of used to knowing him for comedic roles.
Yeah.
I think this definitely.
I was excited because I was like, it's amazing to see actors who you normally see in a certain type of genre to do something different like this. So I was like, wow, that's really cool.
Yeah. And I think he was excited, to have that, to be able to go into this more serious, amount of he agreed. And so we had like the best friend, we had Marlene, we had George, and now it was like finding our lead girl, like this she is the driving force of this film. And we were so lucky to have met Katie a while back, and Katie really, just took to this character and brought another layer to her. And honestly, I couldn't have, thought of anyone better to play. And yeah, it was amazing, and everyone, it just became this like little family. Especially once Katie was with Marlene and George, just like having that like that family dynamic. It was beautiful.
Yeah, I always love when I hear stories like that on films, especially films with such great messages of how everybody bonded, and you become like that. You become like a family unit, and like you make lifelong friends, and and it's then you hope to work with these people again, and it's always that much more. Like I said, when it's a meaningful film with a great message. Um, I know someone asked where they can see it. Are people able to see it yet, or are they able to see previews? I mean, I know you sent
Yeah.
me, but
Yeah, so if they go to my link in my bio, it's up on YouTube. So you can either type like "at last" Lorena Gordon teaser, or you can go to the link. Or I'll also give you. I think I sent you the link, right, to the YouTube. I think I sent the
so
link.
what I could, yeah, I wasn't sure. I wasn't positive if it was something that you were sharing around yet, or if it was
Yeah.
private. So I like to check before I share something, because like sometimes people like, oh, here's a private little like preview, and I'm like, I want to just like air it all over the place if it wasn't
Yeah.
real.
Yeah, no, feel free to share it. Yeah. So what we have right now is like the teaser. We are working on the final touches of the film now in post-production, and then eventually the film will be out, hopefully on a digital platform. We're still waiting, due to COVID festivals. That was like our prime, avenue for sharing this film. But I don't think any festivals are going to happen not for the remainder of the year. So we're going to wait for 2021. We'll be coming out with the film, and people can check it out. Or we're also thinking of doing like just special screenings, especially for these two communities that I feel would just really appreciate the film. Love to see it. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't really see who wouldn't love to see this. I mean, I watched the little bit I watched, really, I feel like sometimes you have to have films, they grab you right away, and that's kind of how I'm going to enjoy it, I'm going to like it, or I want. And, when you sent it to me, I was like, oh yeah, I mean, this is definitely one that, like, I've reviewed short films before for, even, because they're doing them virtually.
Yeah.
Like, it was Becca, and I had reviewed some shorts, and because I did reviews on them, because outside, I do things for outside of obviously what I do here, but I do other things. So I did some reviews for Tribeca, and I watched some films, and sometimes they grab you and sometimes they don't. And then my thing is I love, because obviously I'm a giver, I'm a big into causes and philanthropy and being humanitarian, so I love a film with like a really great message, and I think it's beautiful, because I think that we need those films. I think that they help people, they inspire people, they sometimes, I've heard people say that they've watched something and it's kind of like saved them in a way, or helped
Yeah,
save them.
absolutely.
Yeah, and I love the fact that that one of your main characters is someone that's disabled, and you said that they have Down syndrome. I used to run like years ago um mentally disabled group home, and it was such fulfilling work, and people always like, oh, how are you able to do that? And for me, it was like I could have been in the worst mood, and I would go to work, because it was just a regular house that they all lived in, like boys on one side, girls on another side, and it was adults like 18 and over. It wasn't kids, but it was an adult and group home, and they always made me smile, they made me laugh, and and they had so many these beautiful talents, and just they're always smiling and laughing, and it makes you really think that like they don't, like, people don't realize that the smarts and the wants that they have, and they want, like, he's a great I mean, in the movie Butter Falcon, I mean, great actor.
Yeah.
And talent and just a beautiful person. And, I've seen him on other things. I believe it was an award show I saw him on. And,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, I think we need to showcase that more. And we're all people and we all can do everything anything we want. And I think getting that message out there of just because somebody is disabled doesn't mean they can't act or sing or do whatever they want. I mean, be an artist, whatever it is. I mean, and unfortunately that mentality sometimes is out there, because I used to see some of that and discrimination when I ran the group home. If we were out, we went to the movies or we went in public, and it was just like everybody's staring, and it's like, what are you looking at?
Yeah.
Like, they might be different, but we're all still human. And, it's things that you take for granted. Like some of them wanted to work and they couldn't work. And it's like, we sometimes complain about working, and then, these people want to work. They want to be and do things that everybody else does. But, I think it's great that you chose that as one of your main characters. Somebody has a question. What is the title of the film? At Last, Amy.
At Last. Yes.
Yeah, one of my friends are asking. And I will post, you can find the link you said in your profile, right?
Yeah, in my bio. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in her bio and Lorena's bio. And I will also post it for you guys. I'll share it in the story. I'll post it again on Instagram and stuff like that. Now, do you also have Facebook pages or other things
so
for
we
the
have,
film, or just?
Yeah, so we have our Instagram page, which is where we're constantly posting, behind the scenes videos, footage, and obviously keeping our audience updated on once we start hitting the festivals where we'll be screening and stuff like that. But just to piggyback on what you said, yeah, I feel like people with disabilities are just the most genuine, purest, just they have I don't know, they just aren't as jaded as other people. So I don't know, that's been the one thing, growing up in New York, you are in I remember being in third grade and having someone in a wheelchair in my classroom, and then someone else, you're just already immersed. And I feel it just people just need to, I think it's fear of the unknown. Same thing with people being gay, people being afraid of gay people. It's just
Yeah.
things. So the more that we put these stories out there, the more that we give these actors with disability the opportunity, the more that it'll just be, I hate using this word, but normalized. But it's more that people see, the more oh, okay, that's, I guess that's okay, or whatever. So I think that's the only thing we can do for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I absolutely agree 100% wholeheartedly. I think that it's not, I don't think we see it enough. And I think the more we see it, and yeah, I totally understand how we don't want to use that words, but unfortunately sometimes that's the right words to use.
Yeah.
And I mean, sadly, sometimes we could just hope and wish that we live in a world, same thing with the LGBT community, where we don't have to say normalize or accept and all this stuff, but it's just there are some people that feel oh, it's like any role. It's when there's when you have a story, whether it's a documentary or a true story, or it's just something somebody, wrote, you should really look for those people to play those roles, in my opinion, not somebody else. If it's a trans role, find a trans, I feel that it's important to, representation basically is important in all aspects, in every arena of everything. And even if it's not about, your story is not necessarily about being disabled, but you chose to use that actor that had a disability anyway. And that means even more, in my opinion, because there's no reason they can't just be in a movie just to be in a movie. It doesn't just have to be to play that role that they represent. And I think that's the thing that's kind of a little bit well, it's a little bit insulting. If you just want me to just play those roles, it's I think just use them. If they're a good actor and they have talent, and there's no reason why you can't use them. And if you let something hold you back, such as that, I think it's better that we have people like yourself that put them in something and that's not necessarily, encompassing that specific thing, just to show like this person's an actor and they can act and they're wonderful and they're great, and watch them. And it doesn't have to be, pertaining to their disability,
Yeah.
per se.
Yeah.
Somebody asked, what inspired you to start writing and directing? Because they want to start, but they don't know how.
Okay. I would just say start, just even if it's writing a little bit here and there, or just, now we have our, iPhones, or, just cameras on our phones. And I mean, I started when I was like super young. So I would literally just take my camcorder, go around Central Park and like film my cousins or like my brother and write little stories and have them, act them out. And then little by little, just really gaining the confidence to, be a storyteller, and I guess finding my voice and like what I wanted to write about and what like the stories I wanted to make, which are heartfelt. And it's all about, for me, like visibility, like, because I remember you kind of touched upon this earlier. Like I was 18 when I first saw myself on screen, and that was through I don't know if you remember the film Pariah. Yeah, so I remember seeing my, like, someone, a teen, dealing with her sexuality. I had never seen that before, and at that point I was still like, in the closet and like living with shame and like, super like hidden. And I was just, just seeing that for those like an hour and a half, I was like crying, and I had this realization of like, this is what I want to do. Like, just how this made me feel. Like I want to move people and make them feel like they're not alone, whether it's to pose a question to the audience or just really just, have them escape into this world and make them learn about something that they might have not known before. And because it's very powerful, to be a storyteller is really powerful. So I would just say, just find what it is you want to share with the world, what kind of stories those are, and just, write them and, just film them, grab people who are willing to, just be there for the experience and gain experience. It's all about, there's just at this day and age, with YouTube and just the internet and, like our, cameras, it's all accessible, and you can do it. So I would just say, just like set your mind, I'm gonna like film on Friday, whatever it is, whether it's like no actors, but just kind of getting your feel for things, because yeah.
Yeah, I've seen, I forgot who it was, but she's, huge in television and doing amazing things. I want to say Gloria, and I'm not sure I'm saying her last name right, but it's from the One Day at a Time, Gloria. Okay, I'm not even gonna mess up her name. I feel like I'm gonna mess up. But I think you know who I'm talking about from One Day at a Time. She does that, and she said like basically similar things, like when people asked about getting started, and she said like take your iPhone and do a short film. I mean, iPhones are incredible these days. I've done shorts for BKO with my iPhone, and I had other people like, okay, do this with your iPhone and film this and send it to me, and I'm going to send it to my editor, and then I'm going to make the PSA, and I'm going to make the short, we're going to piece it together, and it came out really good. But I have very good like editors. But I mean, any way you can do something that just gets it. Yeah, thank you, Cauldron. But yeah, I was using like I was all over. Thank you. I'm very, very tired. Thank you. I always can count on them, people in the live to always, correct me or give me their answer that I need. Yeah, she said the same thing. She was like, I have seen people do like very simple things and like go through the roof. And because it's got a message, it's got passion, and I always tell people that too, it's got passion, it's got, you just have to really want it, go out and do the best you can, and then just go from there. It's better than nothing. I mean, like, just to get something out, just to start, get your work out there, do something with it. It doesn't have to win awards. It doesn't have to, like, I always just, I think that's great advice that you have. And, And, you know, what's also funny is people always say, like, um, oh, well, how do you get people to be in it? And it's like, well, first of all, I mean, if you know people that act, ask them. And then if not, like nowadays, you can almost sometimes reach out to people via social media and they will respond.
Just gonna say, yeah. Yeah.
Like it used to be very much like I have to call their agent, I have to email them, and like, you know, I have to be on IMDb and I have to get their contact. Yeah, I mean, sometimes that's absolutely true, but there's other times I have seen people literally reach out to someone or at them or say that they just messaged them and they responded. So anything can happen, like you said, and whether you know somebody or not, or I mean, anything can happen, and I think it's a, you know, it's very inspiring, you know, when people hear that from people who have done it, such as yourself. It helps people feel like, oh, hey, I could do it too, you know, because, you know, people think sometimes you have to know this one and know that one, and it's really not about that. I think that, you know, when I review shorts, I mean, there's sometimes people that I've never heard of, and even who did the film, and or there's not somebody huge, and I loved it, and I was like, wow, this should be big, you know, because it just had a, you know, a message. And then I mean, you know, and those are really, I have to say, I guess it's because of my personality and how much I love to help and give, is that I mean, I love things with messages. So I mean, I'm biased. I'm not gonna lie that I'm biased there, because those are always my favorite ones, because you can watch them and you could just almost feel that this is somebody's story, even if it's not the person who made it. You can feel that it's somebody's story, or that it's true. You can almost feel like the pain or the happiness or the joy or whatever the message is conveying. And I think that your film, at last, it's kind of like, you know, it's coming of age, you know, in a way as well. And just, you know, I think that's a very important message, especially now,
Mhm.
that, you know, people need to hear about and realize that, you know, some people are still struggling with, like you said, coming out of their shell and just doing things, and really, you know, anything, something as, you know, as simplistic as prom, you know, which is what, you know, you said you know, your film is based around. But there's a stronger message in there. It's not just about a prom. So I think that, you know, anything that's like hopeful and that's just, you know, kind of tears of joy is just like something that everybody needs, you know, to hear about, to learn about, even if it's just watching a preview for now. Um, just something that they can keep in the back of their mind. I mean, we all could use all the hope that we could get nowadays, you know, right now. You know, so, you know, I mean, I think it's great. And, you know, I love the cast of characters, and all the actors seem great. And like I said, you know, it was just so funny that I had that, my mind went when I saw it, I was like, why does he look so familiar? And sitting there, and I just could not put it together, because my brain was just not connecting that day. And then when you said the other movie, I was like, that's what it is.
Yeah.
You know, still not together until you said it.
Yeah. But
Go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say, like, someone once told me, like, the more personal, the more universal, which didn't click until we started like sharing this trailer, and people were like, oh my god, like, you know, I resonate with it, and regardless of sexual orientation, ethnicity, gender, or whatever, you know. And I think those are the stories we need to make. Those are the stories that I love seeing, you know, or those where I can connect, you know, whether it's through like just emotion or what have you. I think those are the stories that need to be told.
Absolutely. They definitely do. And all right, somebody's asking, does she play Elena?
Who's a lady?
Who's Elena? Cotton Candy Cloud 13. Who's Elena?
Maybe it was for the one day at a time.
Oh, maybe,
One.
because that's one of the names of the characters. No,
Funny.
if you're asking if she plays Elena, who I'm talking to now, no, no. We were talking about Gloria, because she said something similar to Lorena, is in regards to, we got a question on how you can get into this type of stuff, and Lorena was explaining it. So I happened to bring her up because she said something similar on Twitter, and I think it's a great message that people understand that you could do something as simple as using your iPhone. I see tons of people doing stuff with their iPhone. They have like these great big, like they have like these kind of like holders, special holders, and a backlight, and they film, and that's it. And the things have came out beautifully. I mean, I know a lot of the things that, I mean, the short that I have, I believe we did a couple, but the last one I believe was domestic violence, because we partner with Face Forward in LA, an amazing charity for domestic violence, and what they do for victims who become survivors and whatnot. But we did one, and like I said, again, it was all with iPhones, and it came out beautifully. And so it is possible to do. I mean, we did it to raise awareness. It wasn't about putting in any film festivals or anything. It was about to raise awareness, because I think it's important. I think PSAs are very important of all types. I think that shorts are important for all types of purposes, but yeah, I mean, for us, it was just to, raise awareness. But, I like you said, the universal, I think the more we spread messages like this, whether they're going into film festivals or not, they're still just as important. But it's, when that's your work that you do, of course, unfortunately in today's, well, right now, with the pandemic, like you said, you have to wait till 2021. But I think that, it's worth the wait sometimes, because it's a beautiful film, and it's going to be great and do well. I know it. And I think it's just, you just kind of got to look at it as like, it's going to be worth the wait, and everyone's going to probably even be more excited to see it. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and I mean, I'll definitely keep promoting it, because just because you always want to make sure people keep in mind, like, when that time comes, don't forget to go see it, and again, I'm gonna also share it so everybody can see the preview, because you guys will love it. But what are now? I don't know if I can't remember if I asked this. I have like quarantine brain, but you said this wasn't your first
No.
film?
So first one, actually, you were kind of just talking about it, was what I tackled there was domestic abuse. So
Okay.
it was a short film I wrote for my mother, kind of to share her story, of how she managed to leave an abusive marriage with her two kids. And yeah, I just wanted to make this story about resilience and courage. So that was another personal piece, because it was the story I was familiar with. And, I wanted to just make, at the time, I think kind of like just a cathartic experience for me to write it, and then
Right.
make, then when we were doing our festival run for that film, and, sharing it with all these organizations, just the amount of just people and letters and emails that we would get about how they connected to the story because they are survivors themselves, or they saw this growing up. I think that was, that's why you become a filmmaker and a storyteller, is for those reasons. For no award or prize is equivalent to someone being like, thank you, like this changed my life, or this saved my life, or what have you, is making those deep connections with your audience.
Yeah, I personally can't think of anything better than for someone to come up to me. And I mean, I get sometimes emotional just for people thanking me for what I do here. I mean, so, I
Thank
mean,
you here.
thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, when you do this, when you do your work, and it means something, and the reason why you're doing it is because you want to raise awareness, and you want to share a story, and you want to touch people, and you want to help people. And then you have those people or those letters, and they come to you, or they come up to you, and they tell you thank you, or they're crying, or they're hugging you, or even if it's a letter. That's, to me, like the biggest reward that you can get out of it ever.
Yeah.
Because, like, we do the type of work we do to help others because that's the goal. And so when you know that you have achieved that goal, that kind of is the reward. It's not a statue, it's not how much money, and it's really about because, you know, some people always seem to focus on those certain things, and it's like, but it's really, when it's work about messages and telling stories and like advocacy type work and activism, it's more about the reaction and like getting a standing ovation when your film finishes. If you're doing a screening and you get a standing ovation because, or people are just all crying, like, you don't want people to cry, but if you have a room full of people crying, it's like, yeah, you know, it sounds stupid and insane, but it's like, you know, you're like happy that they're crying because it, you accomplished your goal of really touching people and reaching people and just getting to them to where it was like, maybe it's going to help somebody get out of a domestic violence situation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's the whole purpose of it. It's not about the accolades. And, you know, I think that's really important that, you know, I mean, even though, because people think, well, if that's your work and that's your job, how can that be all that you're looking for? And it's like, okay, that's not all you're looking for, but it's like one of the main things
Yeah.
that why you do the advocacy type films. I mean, because you want to tell a story. And like we said earlier, I think that the more powerful something is, because I think the more real it is, the more audience is going to be inclined to want to watch it, to recommend it, for it to even, and that's where it can start growing bigger and all the other stuff that comes along with it. But you have to like really grasp people first with any film. I mean, it could be about drugs. I mean, it's all the same. It's all the same concept. You have to grab people in to want to watch the film. If nobody wants to watch the film, then, you know, not only are you not getting your message across, but then you're like, you kind of feel like, okay, well, this is what I love to do with my life. And, you know, not so then you got two aspects to it, and then you feel like you failed. And in reality, sometimes we don't fail. We just need more than one shot at it. So, I think it's great. I mean, is that what you plan to do, like, as far as like your career, or do you want to delve into other areas, or do you just plan to want to keep telling stories that have several messages?
Keep telling stories that are like, you know, just heartfelt, you know, whatever topic that is, but just stories that I, you know, want to tap into because I'm curious about the subject matter and I want to learn myself, or stories that I wish that, you know, I could have seen, you know, when I was younger, that could have maybe, you know, changed my life. Like, had I seen this in high school, I think it would have been a completely different story for me. You know, like my coming out story would have been different, as opposed to, you know, just like hiding my sexuality for like, you know, 15 years or whatever. So I think it definitely would have impacted me. So just stories that resonate and that, you know, like mean something.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. That, you know, do you think that like you want to put your short films in schools, maybe?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that'd be great. I think that'd be a good idea because, like you said, I think that they don't really, let's be real, they don't teach this stuff. You know, I mean, so I think that if you have a school willing to show these type of films to raise awareness, whether it be at like a rally or in a classroom or, you know, whatever, I honestly think I think like once, I think twice a year in every school they should have bullying, and then have like, you know, or whatever type of messages, if it coincides with bullying and LGBT. You know, I think they should have something that incorporates it all, or regardless of how they do it, but like twice a year have like everybody go to the gym. Like when I was in high school many years ago, when I was in high school, we would all go to the gym to like have pep rallies. So it's like, or something like that. So if you go to the gym, like, okay, get everybody in the gym. Obviously might not have the whole school at once, but you could do it in little sections and watch these films. And then you maybe cut down on discrimination, bullying, being mean, people not understanding, fear, because they're not watching enough things that maybe explain it. And
Yeah.
then maybe like teach them and learn it, and maybe invite parents too, because sometimes you got a lot of at home people, the parents. I just did a mentoring group on Zoom, and I had someone who asked a question because she didn't know what to do. Like, she lives in a homophobic household, and she came out and she lives to live like that. And you feel for those people because you want to help them and you want to give them as much advice as you can. But how much can you say when it's like that's where they live? And if they unfortunately don't have any place else to go, it's like they have to stay like that. So maybe if parents had more things in education to, because like you said, a lot of it does come probably from fear of unknown. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's pure, sadly, it's pure hate, and they don't want to understand it. And but I think that some people really kind of do, and you can turn it around. And if
Mm-hmm.
they had more education with these things that they can watch and be seen, and they're kind of almost forced to watch it if they have to go to the school, because at home they could say, no, I'm not watching this. But if the schools had like these little rallies, and it's a good idea, and I mean it's something that we look to kind of push, and like I have lots of goals with BKO, but it's something like to look to push, like why can't schools have these things, even just in the subject of bullying, but like other, like everything that encompasses. We do a lot here. We do suicide. It all twists together and intertwines, and we do domestic violence, suicide awareness, mental health, um, all those things, because they all are some. We do addiction because that's self-bullying. When you have addictions, people don't realize that there is such a thing as self-bullying. We sometimes self-bully ourselves all the time, and that can come from somebody else bullying, and sometimes we are our biggest bully. But and that has to do with self-esteem, and there's a root cause of it. But the point I'm trying to make is that people sometimes would ask, like, oh, you have so many things that encompass, and I'm like, yeah, but it all comes down to some form of bullying. It just has different names.
Yeah.
Like domestic violence is bullying. It's just a very severe, obviously much higher level than certain things like bullying. It's a little bit bigger than someone. Bullying is bad all the way around, and I want to make sure I say this very clear, that there's different levels. Like, okay, somebody's name calling, and then you have somebody that's being physical. There's different levels, and I'm not saying, people sometimes confuse that. Well, does that mean it's a lesser? Nothing is less. It's just different forms, and they have different names. And I think that's really what people need to understand, is there's different forms of bullying. Doesn't mean it's less serious, but there's some things that are up here, and there's some things that are like bullying. Like, there's different levels of bullying. Sometimes you can ignore it and it stops and it goes away, and then there's other people where it becomes some harassment. It can turn into stalking. I mean, there's just so many things, and they just, like I said, they have different names, but it
Yeah.
all comes down to bullying. And obviously, one of our main platforms too is obviously LGBT. But I mean, that's obviously bullying. I mean, it comes down to that, and just being an activist and activism for it. But so do you, like, okay, so obviously this is something that's like your lifelong passion, because I mean, believe it or not, sometimes people do it for lifelong passions, and sometimes people just want to do like a couple, and then they're okay, I'm going to move
Yeah.
on to something. Do you ever want to do like bigger movies, or do you want to stay with shorts?
Oh no, bigger. That's, I had written the feature film for this film, but I knew that we can get the short, made realistically. Um, and I was just so eager to make something. I was going through like, production withdrawals of like not making my own, creating my own stuff. So yeah, no, that's like the goal. So the goal would be to make the feature and to make, other, TV or other films that, like I said, are, heartfelt and, share a special message.
Yeah, like, yeah, I didn't even think of TV too. There's also TV. I mean, it could be, they have sitcoms like that, or 1 hour dramas. I mean, absolutely. And now I know a lot of people ask this question, so I'm going to ask it for them, because I know that I know a lot of people have asked it before, and some people do it differently. So I want to, I'm curious. I don't think we've touched on it, how you did it. Now, did you raise money for the film? Did you do a Kickstarter, or were you able to fund it yourself?
So we had a Indiegogo campaign, uh, and that was like our way of like making this film. So we are forever indebted to our contributors who really like rallied through like to help us exceed our goal actually. So it was just amazing. That was like the only way we could make this film. We had applied to grants and initiative programs, didn't get selected, and it goes back to really wanting to. You have to be really passionate, because there was so much rejection even prior to us even, you know, you know, making the film, even before then, there was already like, you know, no's said to us. But yeah, luckily, you know, we had just a strong community, you know, behind the film. And,
Great.
you know, it doesn't help having obviously these actors who, you know, have a strong community fan base and platform that, yeah, that's how we were able to make this film happen.
Yeah, I mean, it never hurts to have people that have the platforms to really push it to help. I mean, because I mean, in all reality, we all need that type of help. I mean, in everything, when we're doing activism, I mean, you need those people, you need amazing people that want to support you and stand behind you and use their platforms for good. And when you can find people that really want to push that good, that's how things happen. And it's part of being passionate, you know, and so it's good. It's a good thing that when you have people that are able to help you push that to be like, okay, we need to make 15. I mean, everybody's budget is different. I know it just depends on how, you know, I've contributed to a lot of short films in my time and have helped network them and social media and, you know, and stuff like that and do stories on them to help push them out. But I've seen like a lot of the work that it goes into, and it's like, you know, you're getting close to your goal and you're kind of, you know, I actually, you know, one of our advocates, LGBTQ advocates, Tennessee Martin, she's a queer female filmmaker, blah, blah, blah. And she is amazing. And, you know, she did one and it's called Hangry, and she met her, I think she actually might have exceeded, I don't recall, but I remember that. And it's like you get so close to your goal and you're kind of just sitting there, even when you're not, like, it's not your film, but you're just kind of sitting there like, okay, we're so close, and you're getting ending and you're just like, and then it, like, you know, you end up exceeding, and it's like, you know, sometimes it takes a while and it gets there, and, you know, but it's a really beautiful thing. And I've seen a lot of people work really hard, and you have to ask friends you have to reach out for help and say, can you share this? Can you retweet this? You know, and can you just, you know, talk about it, or, you know, write about it, or, you know, and it's, you know, however we could get the message out when it's something that really needs to be, because hers as well had a beautiful, amazing message. Not, well, it's a, when you say beautiful, you just mean like more sometimes, even though it might be intense or it
Yeah.
might create a story, it's beautiful because it has a message that needs to get out there. Because I don't want to confuse beautiful with, sometimes when we do have to tell kind of a little bit of a gruesome story or a crappy story, you know, when I'm saying beautiful, I kind of mean that, like, it's just, I think anything's beautiful when it gets a message out there. And raises awareness in something. And that's kind of what I mean, because then some people will go watch the film and be like, this is beautiful. And I'm like, well, it's beautiful in the aspect of it's raising awareness.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes, you know, the short films are intense, and they're you like almost painful to, like, when you have to see them and you know that somebody went through this. But again, it raises awareness, and that's the beauty part of it. And then people leave there with like a different mentality and a different, like with domestic violence, people leave there with a different, like, my goal with the short for Bullies Keep Out was, you know, not only to help our partners that we work with, but and support wholeheartedly, but also because it came from a personal, you know, part of me, but it also because it was just something that, you know, when there's things that, I mean, everything needs attention, don't get me wrong, but it's just, you know, however you can get it out there. And I had a friend who was in it, and a friend who told her story, and I felt that was also a very powerful beginning, and she agreed to be in it. She agreed to show her face. You know, some people only agree to, like, share their voices, like, I'll put my voice in there, but I'm not putting my face in there. And they have their reasons, because they can't, or they might backlash. But, you know, I mean, the ultimate, you know, it's, you know, and even though it might have not been, oh my God, it's just, this is just as beautiful, you know, the way this was done. It's more about how many people came to us and said that it helped them, and it changed, and it made them realize that, you know, they needed to speak up, or they needed to say something, or they wanted to share their story. And even sometimes sharing your story is healing. So I think that that's great, and I love what you're doing, and I mean I can't wait to see your future work and all your work, and this movie at last as well, and make sure everybody does write it down. With I'm going to share this information. I'm going to also tag, and so you can follow the Instagram page. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think that I really, this is a story that I'm really looking forward to. I looking forward to watching, because there's so many, I like the different aspects to it. Like I said, there's not only the story and the message, but I also loved that you use Zachary, and that was important to you, and that you care about representation as well. And so there's a lot of beautiful things that with this film, and I commend you on it, and I think that's great. And the fact that also you kind of want to delve into other areas that you might not be familiar with, I think that's going to be interesting too, because that's kind of when you get to connect with people that have been through those things, and you get to learn about it through their eyes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, um, so like, but I guess did we touch on this? So you told okay. So now the domestic violence you said was your mother. Now, was this based on anything like true, or this was kind of just a story that had a little bit of like background, but it's not like a full? Because
Yeah.
this one isn't like a this is this a real life one, kind of like your mom, or is this more
Oh,
like